The Brush of Hope. How a young artist's fight inspired a Hollywood legend in a small town nestled between rolling green hills and winding rivers. 13-year-old Lily Carter spent her days sketching, painting, and dreaming. Her world was filled with colors, brilliant blues, fiery reds, and golden yellows, each stroke of her brush telling a story. But one day, the colors seemed to fade. The day she was diagnosed with leukemia. The news hit her family hard. The treatments were expensive, and her parents were already struggling to keep up with the mounting bills. But Lily wasn't the kind of girl to give up. If cancer thought it could steal her colors, it had another thing coming. Determined to help, Lily set up a small booth outside a bustling California boardwalk, displaying her artwork. Some pieces were landscapes, others were portraits, but all carried a piece of her heart. A hand-painted sign read, "Art for a cause, every painting helps fund my chemo." At first, people strolled by, offering sympathetic glances but little else. Then, a woman stopped. She picked up a small watercolor of a sunset over the ocean. "This is beautiful," she said, handing Lily a $20 bill. Lily's heart soared. One sale down, many more to go. Soon, word began to spread. People stopped, admired her work, and bought paintings. Some gave extra, some simply donated. Each day, Lily counted her earnings with hope in her heart. But she knew it wouldn't be enough. Then, one quiet afternoon, as she sat painting a rugged cowboy silhouette against a twilight sky, she heard a deep, gravelly voice behind her. "Now that's a fine piece of art." Lily turned, and her breath caught in her throat. Standing before her, in a simple leather jacket and a cowboy hat, was Clint Eastwood. The Clint Eastwood. She stared in shock as the legendary actor picked up her painting and studied it with interest. "You made this?" he asked. "Why, yes," she stammered, her heart pounding. He glanced at her sign, then back at her, his rugged face softening. "You're a tough kid," he said. She swallowed, unsure of what to say. Eastwood pulled out his wallet and handed her something. Lily looked down and nearly fainted. It was a check for $10,000. Tears filled her eyes. "I can't take this." "Sure you can," he said with a small smile. "And I want this painting." Lily handed it to him with shaking hands. "Thank you," she whispered. By now, a small crowd had gathered, whispering and snapping photos. Eastwood nodded at her one last time before walking off, her painting tucked under his arm. But the magic didn't stop there. Within hours, her story was all over social media. Donations poured in from around the world. Her GoFundMe, which had barely scraped together $2,000, soared past $100,000 overnight. Lily could hardly believe it. She had started with a paintbrush and a dream, and now, because of one kind act, she had a second chance at life. As for the cowboy painting, it found its place in Clint Eastwood's personal collection, a reminder that sometimes, even the smallest strokes of kindness can paint a masterpiece of hope. Lily sat in her hospital bed, staring at the flood of messages on her phone. People from all over the world were reaching out, offering prayers, encouragement, and even commissioning artwork. Her mother wiped away tears of joy. "Sweetheart, you did it. We can afford the treatment now." Lily smiled, exhaustion creeping into her bones. But this time it was the good kind. The kind that came after a long, hard fight. The kind that reminded her she was still here. But her journey was far from over. A week after Clint Eastwood's incredible gesture, Lily received a phone call. At first, she thought it was a prank. "Hello, is this Lily Carter?" "Yes. This is Ellen DeGeneres." Lily nearly dropped her phone. The famous talk show host invited her onto the show, saying she had been touched by her story. When Lily and her mother arrived at the studio, she felt overwhelmed by the bright lights, the cameras, and the buzzing energy of the set. But as soon as Ellen welcomed her on stage, she relaxed. "You're an incredible artist, Lily," Ellen said. "And I hear you're a fighter, too." Lily nodded, gripping her hands together. I didn't want cancer to take away my dream. I wanted to do something." The audience erupted into applause. Ellen grinned. "Well, we have a little surprise for you." The screens behind them lit up, showing a video message. It was Clint Eastwood himself. "Hey, Lily," he said, tipping his cowboy hat. I just wanted to say how proud I am of you. Your strength is inspiring. And I have one more surprise for you. Lily's mouth dropped open as the screen switched to an art school, one of the best in the country. You have a full scholarship waiting for you when you're ready, Clint continued. Keep painting, kid. Tears spilled down Lily's cheeks as Ellen handed her a tissue. The audience roared, cheering for the girl who had once sold paintings on a boardwalk, hoping for a miracle. And she had found it. Not just in the money, not just in the support, but in the realization that her story had touched millions of lives. Even as she continued her chemotherapy, Lily never stopped painting. Each stroke of her brush was a promise, to herself, to the people who believed in her, and to the world, that she would never give up. A year later, as she stood in front of a gallery featuring her very own collection, she smiled at the signature on the bottom of one of the paintings. Lily Carter, Survivor. Because that's exactly what she was. The gallery was filled with people, art lovers, philanthropists, and fans who had followed Lily's journey from the very beginning. Her paintings, once humble works displayed on a boardwalk, now adorned the walls of this prestigious space, each one telling a story of resilience, love, and a fierce determination to live. As Lily stood in the center of the room, surrounded by her artwork, her mind wandered back to the day Clint Eastwood had walked by her booth. The memory felt like a dream, yet everything she had built, everything she had fought for, had stemmed from that one moment of unexpected kindness. The room buzzed with admiration, but it was the quiet conversations that meant the most to Lily. People were asking about her health, about how she had gotten through it all, and how she kept going despite the odds. She spoke honestly about her journey, not just the pain, but the love and support that had carried her through. Then, as the night wore on, a familiar face appeared in the doorway. Clint Eastwood. The crowd parted as he walked in, looking as calm and stoic as ever, but with a gleam of pride in his eyes. He made his way toward Lily, who could hardly believe her eyes. This time, she wasn't just the young girl he had helped. She was an accomplished artist, someone who had created something lasting. I think we might need a bigger wall, Clint said with a chuckle, nodding to the gallery space. These pieces belong in more places than just here. Lily laughed, the sound more joyful than she had felt in a long time. You think so? I know so, Clint replied. You've got a gift, Lily. And your story? It's not just inspiring, it's changing lives. Lily's heart swelled. She'd always dreamed of making an impact, but this was more than she could have ever imagined. As the night drew to a close, Clint turned to Lily and extended his hand. You've done something extraordinary here, and you're just getting started. Lily took his hand, feeling the weight of his words. Thank you, Mr. Eastwood. I'll never forget what you did for me. Clint smiled and nodded. I didn't do it alone, kid. You did the hard part. You fought, you created, you kept going. That's what makes you a hero. Lily's eyes filled with tears, but this time they weren't born from sadness. They were the tears of someone who had been through a storm and come out on the other side, stronger than ever. As the last of the guests left, Lily stood in front of her paintings, Clint's words echoing in her mind. She had done it. She had fought with everything she had and emerged victorious. Not just over cancer, but over the doubts and fears that had tried to hold her back. The future was bright, and for the first time in a long while, Lily felt ready to face it. She wasn't just an artist anymore. She was a survivor, a force to be reckoned with, and this was only the beginning.